We all knew that when Ghost of Yotei came out, it was going to be extremely controversial. From them replacing Jin with Atsu, them picking Erika Ishii, who was just a really cringe activist. You, of course, have the statements some of the developers have made, and also the really bad Sucker Punch co founder PR disaster. Though you now have the access media running defense for this game tooth and nail, even though it doesn't appear to be selling well. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, over the past couple of days, the media has picked up on some numbers shared by absolutely nobodies on social media. We know that there are tiny accounts who do not have histories of leaks or analytics posting things like hearing 1.3 million sold on the first day of Yotei, ever so slightly ahead of Tsushima's first 24 hours of 1.25 million. Tsushima kept pace in second day with another 1.15 million sold. Can Yotei keep up? And there's absolutely no proof of this from anybody reliable, though the media did pick up on this, saying Ghost of Yotei has reportedly sold over 1 million copies, selling faster than GOT, and even saying the response towards Yotei is more positive, and the lie detector has determined that that is a big fat lie, and it all boils down to them wanting to own the chuds and try to prove that their games are doing good. But we do have evidence and information that points to the opposite. So, this is a Game Pressure article, and they actually have sources they reference and analysts, but it says Ghost of Yotei had a strong launch in the UK. The latest game from Sucker Punch just knocked EA Sports FC 26 off the top of the boxed bestsellers list, which is pretty impressive considering the soccer game from EA only held the spot for a week. This is somewhat surprising for analysts, especially since the latter is available on PC and many consoles, while Yotei is a PlayStation 5 exclusive. However, Ghost of Yotei's release in the ranking was 40% weaker than Ghost of Tsushima, according to analyst Christopher Dring and the founder of the game business. It's not really all that surprising. Now, I do actually think that it is pretty surprising that this is happening because Ghost of Tsushima was the first in a brand new series. I don't think that the level of hype was as insane as it was for what should have been a sequel, though with Yotei, while it has faced a lot of controversy, there were still quite a lot of people that were excited for it because the first game was so phenomenal, and that's why I always thought it was going to sell pretty well. I didn't ever think that this game was going to be a complete flop. I've said it from the beginning. I thought this game would sell 3 to 4 billion copies, even though they probably need it to be significantly higher than that, but at the same time, to hear that its ranking was 40% weaker than Tsushima is pretty shocking, because you would think that after the first game came out, it was such a beloved game, and now it's a lot of people's favorite title, or one of their favorite titles, that Yotei would have been doing much stronger. And I think with this in combination with the fact that Sucker Punch and Sony have not promoted numbers for Yotei so far, that means that it's probably not going as strongly as they expected. Maybe over time it will do well and the numbers will not completely tank. Though either way, I don't think that this is still a good look, that's for sure, especially when you have the media trying to come out and Damage Control, and they're saying, oh my gosh, it's doing so good. Again, based off of rumors and reports coming from tiny X accounts that do not have a history of showing analytics or leaks or anything like that. It says 5 years is like forever in this industry, and during that time, the market has really shifted towards digital distribution. Moreover, Tsushima came out towards the end of the PS4 era, back when there were way more of those consoles around than there are PS5s today. Also, the first installment of the series came out during the pandemic, when people spent much more time playing games. All of this means no one expected the boxed edition of Yotei to sell as well as the previous game in the series, and I do think that this might be a factor, but I do not think it is the leading factor. And I think that maybe we could have all understood if it sold 10 to 15% weaker, but 40% is an absolutely a massive drop. I know Hypnotic has talked about the response to, gamers from the media who are trying to own the chud, saying, so the PR storm is out in full effect for Yotei. I'm honestly shocked that it's happening so fast, but the level of nonsense we are seeing is through the roof. I just had done another video talking about how the gamer is saying 2025's biggest sequels all star women, and only one received backlash, and it's Yotei, and they're trying to boil it down to, oh, it had a woman in it, and that's why it did so bad, even though they really prove gamers correct that it's not that we hate women, it's just that we are willing to criticize products that do not look like they are going to live up to our expectations, and we are just willing to criticize products that have problems. It says this is the article that is currently being thrown around right now, trying to quickly shift the narrative of Yotei in its favor as soon as possible. They claim the game has sold over 1 million copies, conveniently just barely passing Tsushima's original number on day one. In this article, they claim Yotei is loved more than Tsushima and that community sentiment is strong, which isn't the case. Who is their source for this information? A random tweet from an account with less than 10k followers. What is this account source? Well, quite clearly, it's Trust Me Bro. We have seen a lot of posts like this over the past couple of days, and I know a lot of people do not, of course, trust the Access media anymore, but it's pretty pathetic that they are going to these lengths. They claim to have standards and an ethical code, yet these are the sources that they use, but they don't even say, of course, like, take it with a hefty grain of salt. There's no evidence to back this up, but I thought it was particularly interesting to cover, like every YouTuber does if they cover something, though this is the same familiar story we've seen, because we know that Dragon Age the Veilguard saw this same exact thing happen, where the media was trying to damage control, saying it might have less launch sales than something like Inquisition, but that doesn't mean it's a failure. That means that it might sell over time and it might be stronger farther out. And, well, we all know that that was a complete and utter failure of a game, which is so funny to me because this is a title that we had waited so long for. It came out and it was just more modern audience slop. And I think that Yotei looks beautiful. I think that some of the combat looks like it could be fun. I think that they did make the game a little bit more enhanced compared to the first one in terms of like the AI and responsiveness and systems that are in the game. But at the same time, there are a lot of people who said, you know what, after the pile of problems this game has surrounding it, I've decided I am not going to support it. And it's pretty pathetic that there are so many people on social media attacking gamers for simply not wanting to support individuals who want them dead, though that is what they are doing. They're running defense for it. I mean, even on Hypnotic's post, we see some responses saying, you guys are overreacting. Like Mighty keeps saying, I don't think it's that deep, brother. It's just a random account throwing out rumors. PR Storm makes it seem like you believe these are Sony execs fabricating these rumors, which Hypnotic didn't say at all whatsoever. Sure, he said PR Storm, but he was referring to the way that the sites are reporting on it. There are people saying, I don't think it's that deep. The hope you freaks have for this game is pretentious and pathetic. Y'all can't accept it's actually doing well despite you retards trying to boycott it. And it's actually doing well. It's not saying player base, but the actual copies sold that's been reported, y'all can't take. And this person clearly doesn't know how to read. Looking at the end of Hypnotic's statement, he said, Ghost of Yotei was always going to survive off the back of Tsushima and sell copies. I'm extremely curious to see how this game performs in Japan personally, as Tsushima set records in Japan for a Western game, or even just games in general. This game will obviously sell over 1 million copies pretty early on, but to claim it this soon and use this level of sourcing just shows me that it hasn't happened yet, and I agree. Now, a couple of days later, I think that Sucker Punch and Sony have not posted about the numbers because this rumor kind of killed it for them, because this rumor had already circulated, so they kind of assume that people already assume that, though they haven't posted anything officially, so take everything with a grain of salt, though, according to analysts, who I would tend to believe more than random X accounts, you've got the Yotei game being number one, but it allegedly sold 40% less than Tsushima for physical game sales in the UK. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this and found it important and informative, make sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. And if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.